All right, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. This is Dr. Ephraim. Today's date is October 11th, 2022. I'm saying hi by Yeshem Yeshua HaMashiach Baruch Atah Adonai. Now I'm going to go ahead and upload this lesson because I said I was. I know it's a little late, but I mean, hey, one of the great things about doing what I do is like there's no set time. I can, anytime I can, if I feel led, I can just upload a lesson or upload my thoughts, whatever the case may be, when you have a platform. But I got to give some context though before I give this lesson on why the E1B1A does not show and point to where it originated, which is Israel. And that I mean, you all should know that's a very complex question. And the thing about it is, like I've said before, a lot of these geneticists, whatever they look at and take your ignorance of DNA and how it works for granted. They'll say anything and you don't know any different, so you just accept it, right? Well, Most High raised me up, he was like, nah, not so fast, right? But I'm gonna just say this, man. I'm gonna keep it all the way 100. Um, there's a lot of bones in the land of Israel, or the land known as Israel now. Judea, what they call it Palestine. There's a lot of bones. Israel was occupied by so many different nations of people, really, and it was prophesied. And I'm gonna get into that by prophecy and by scripture. What happened to the E1B1A, why it doesn't point to Israel, and what happened with out of Israel, whatever. I'm gonna get into all of that. But I had to say this first though before I put that lesson on. A lot of bones that these archaeologists and these excavationists get in Israel. They do these DNA tests on stuff like that. Let me tell you something. They're getting bones of colonizers. They're getting bones of many of the people that invaded Israel. And what they're doing is they're using those the invaders' bones to make genetic claims about the children of Israel, and it's confusing. Yeah, all right. You can't like those bones that they're getting, and getting all these different R haplotypes and all these different haplotypes. That should tell you that they're getting the bones of people that were not invited to Israel. They were colonizers. So you take that whatever genetic information they get from those bones with a grain of salt, basically, and that makes the E1 showing and proving the E1B1A being the children of Israel that much harder, going forward, right? Yeah, we got scripture. We got scripture. Scripture says, Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28. We got that. You know, Now, can we show and prove genetically that scripture is true? Yes, we can, and I have, right? So I don't want y'all to get discouraged when y'all hear these different things coming out with these so-called geneticists, and they finding bones or doing the DNA test of bones in Israel, and telling y'all oh, if the bones was from some European country, whatever. Yeah, it's from some European country because they invaded, they colonized. You got to remember the Romans invaded Israel, the Turks invaded Israel, the Greeks invaded Israel. I mean, you got the bones of a whole bunch of illegal colonizers on that holy land. Let's keep it 100. And I had to say that as as a context before I get into what happened to the E1B1A by scripture, right? So anyway, that's that. I hope y'all enjoy the lesson. And until next time, this is Dr. Ephraim signing off, saying hi by Yeshem Yeshua HaMashiach, Baruch Atah Adonai, Shalom Elek.
Why DNA test does not show E1B1A coming from Israel. Let's get it. I'm back. Hi, everybody. Shem Yeshua Mashiach. Shalom.
All right, here we go. So now remember when I said that the simple answer to what happened to us was that basically we our Y DNA E1B1A left and all these other groups came in, right? Okay, we'll frame that. Pause it and frame that. All right, this is the Most High in Leviticus 26:33. He says in first person, this is the Most High talking, and I will scatter you among the heathen, and will draw out a sword after you, and your land shall be desolate, and your cities waste. So in lay terms, the Most High is telling you exactly what was going to happen, that there was going to be not a soul left in the land of Israel, in Jerusalem. And how do I know that? Well, let's bring up desolate and see what desolate means. Desolate, of a place, deserted of people, and in a state of bleak and dismal emptiness. Go down a little bit as a verb, desolate, to make a place bleakly and depressingly empty or bare. And there it is there. Now, how was this accomplished? Remember I said there were several things as to how this was accomplished in terms of there was a mass exodus and a mass migration, if you will, of our people in the E1B1A out of Israel. Well, let's deal with the first incident that happened that partly achieved that. And that would be the Assyrian deportation of about 720, 722 BC. Remember I touched on how King Shalmaneser, he replaced a lot of our people with those Ethiopians. We were deported. That's when the 10 tribes were deported out of Israel. All right. And what's not talked about also is when the Assyrians came in, they actually replaced Hebrew with Aramaic. Right? Because so when I did the knowledge, if you remember, when I did the knowledge on my people, the Yoruba Jews, who said, okay, they were from Morocco, and when they got to Yoruba and said, hey, we are B'nai Ephraim, and linguistically they spoke some Aramaic and some Moroccan, and it threw me off at first. I'm like, well, why were they speaking? Why would they be speaking Aramaic? Wouldn't it be Hebrew? And so when I did, I dug a little deeper and I found out, okay, the Assyrians replaced Hebrew with Aramaic. So then it definitely lined up and made sense that when they fled Morocco into Yoruba in West Africa, and they were speaking some Aramaic, then it definitely lined up. So let's go back. The Assyrian deportation, that was the first major event. That put a big dent in our E1B1A and all of our subgroups out of Israel. Okay, they weren't lost. They weren't lost. They were literally deported. Kind of like when the immigration comes and deports the the Mexican brothers and stuff back to Mexico or whatever. But the thing is, and this is my personal opinion. The Assyrians had no right come and deport nothing. Nobody asked them to come to Israel, But anyway, not to go on a tangent, that was the first major event, the Assyrian deportation. So let's go a little bit into that, read a little bit on that, and before we continue on with the segment. Yep, the Assyrian deportation. For all intents and purposes, this was the original Trail of Tears, man. And as I move forward, you'll see this didn't happen in just a day or a couple of days or a couple of months or a year even. This was a long process, over 20 years. But see, this is what happened when the Most High withdrew his protection from us, man. All hell broke loose. It was open season on us, man. And I mean, and these savages came up in there, and it wasn't like we didn't fight back. Please don't get it twisted. We wouldn't on no singing, holding hands and singing Kumbaya. No, we had our soul. We was doing our thing. We definitely fought back as hard as we could. Many of us, perished and died. So we fought, man. But that Assyrian deportation, that took a huge chunk out of our migration up out of our homeland, man. And if you look at that picture, man, I mean that's a sad picture. You being deported from your homeland. Wait a minute, how you gonna deport somebody from their own land, man? Like where did they do that at, man? But again, to keep it in perspective, the Most High, he told us, You know, we wanted to be stiff-necked, and we wanted to complain, and we didn't want to keep his law, statutes, and commandments. And when he withdrew his protection, man, oh man, it was open season. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's been on ever since. It's been on ever since. So let's go on to the next slide and talk about this Assyrian deportation / captivity for a little bit before we move forward and talk about the next event that pretty much did us in and did away with the E1B1A out of Israel. All right, the Assyrian captivity of Israel, or I like to refer to it as the Assyrian deportation of Israel. It said the northern kingdom of Israel was conquered by the Neo-Assyrian monarchs Tiglath-Pileser III and Shalmaneser V. The later Assyrian ruler Sargon II and his son and successor Sennacherib were responsible for finishing the 20-year demise of Israel's northern 10-tribe kingdom, although they did not overtake the southern kingdom. Jerusalem was besieged, but not taken. The tribes exiled by Assyria later became known as the 10 lost tribes. But make no mistake, the process was definitely underway for the E1B1A becoming not even a distinct memory of their own homeland of Israel. I mean, trust me, I do understand and get it. And I know that we were totally responsible for where we are as a people and as a nation. But for me, all things, considered, it's still pretty, pretty sad and somber, in my spirit, knowing the history of my people, man, and how we were, basically kicked off of our own land. And, basically we were the original Native Americans, and get technical. And so, yeah, that's kind of sombering, man. Even as I I've researched this, and I'm going over it, and I'm narrating and everything like that. I'm bringing the knowledge to all of you. It's still pretty sombering to know, what we went through as a people, and I mean throughout history, and what we're still going through today. I mean, it's just, yeah, it's pretty sombering. But moving right along. Now this Assyrian cuneiform, now this is very important. There's a lot of key things in this. All right, the Assyrian cuneiform states that 27,290 captives were taken from Syria, the capital of the northern kingdom of Israel, by the hand of Sargon II. Now that is significant. Why is that significant? Because when that happened, what's not listed here is when those 27,000 captives were taken from Samaria, okay, the Ethiopians were brought in and replaced them there, okay? And me and my right-hand man, Tony Judah, was building on this a couple Sabbaths ago, right? When Christ met the lady at the well, we built on that, and it was real tight, but that's why they think that they're us, okay? They were placed there by King Shalmaneser, but they're not us. Okay, that's key right there. All right, and Christ told the lady as much, pretty much, like, you don't even know who you are. You're not. This isn't your land. Like, he was telling her, like, letting her know, like, no, you're mistaken. Like, this is not your land. This is not the land of your forefathers. Well, anyway, not to go on a tangent, but that's key. That's important. All right, and he says that Sargon records, of course, his first campaign. Yada yada yada. He tells you right here in the first reign, the people of Samaria to the number of 27,000. So he actually tells you how many people were carried away. All right, and let's scroll down. He said the description of the final defeat of the northern kingdom of Israel above appears to be a minor event in Sargon's legacy. It says some historians attribute the ease of Israel's defeat to the previous 2 decades of invasions, defeats, and deportations. Man, we were tired of scrapping with these fools, man. This has been going on, and we were just fighting, and it says right here, like I said, it was a process. Over 20 years, man, of invasions, of them messing with us, fighting them, defeats, You know, them rounding us up and getting us up out of there. I mean, it was just, man, you know, the Most High said our foot would not have rest, man. And I tell you, like I said, it's been on ever since, man. I mean, it really has. It really has. That's key right there, because that tells you that we have been fighting with them, with these Assyrians for a long time. And not to get too far ahead, but Flavius Josephus, he accounts for, I mean, all of that. He has like literally a timeline of things that happened with our people in the destruction of Jerusalem, and what happened with the Romans, and you know, we'll get into that. I guess I don't want to get too far ahead, but that's key. That tells you right there, man. We were fighting with them for a long time, and maybe I'm sure we were tired, man. You know, we trying to take care of our women and our children, and you know, fighting these guys off, man. And you know, you're trying to, you know, enslave us or kill our women and children, whatever the case may be. And it was a very long process of going through that back and forth. I can't even imagine what they were going through, man. Like really, I mean, like they weren't messing with anyone. But here we are fighting off these Assyrians, fighting for our lives, fighting for our homeland. And as you can see, slowly but surely, man, it was slipping away. Slowly but surely, man, our Y DNA of E1B1A was walking out of history, literally, slowly but surely. This is what you're listening to right now. This is what I'm bringing forth. All right. So let me continue. Let me read on. Some estimates assume a captivity numbering in the hundreds of thousands, minus those who died in defense of the kingdom, and minus those who fled. That's key too. Those who fled voluntarily before and during the invasions. That's key, because a lot of us did flee. We fled into West Africa. I'll get more into that in the next segment when I deal with the Roman destruction. But lastly, however, it has also been suggested that the numbers of deported by the Syrians were rather limited, and the bulk of the population remained in situ. There is also evidence that significant numbers fled south to the kingdom of Judah. And that's key, because that would explain how some tribes from the north, or like for example, why some from Ephraim actually got kind of caught up with Judah. You know, and that's why we're kind of mixed up today, even in America. You know, you have some from the tribe of Judah, from the tribe of Ephraim, with the Ebos over there, and you know, they're from Gad. So that would actually explain the mixture. So with some from the north fleeing south, that definitely is key. And I wanted to kind of, you know, speak on that real quick. It's a trip how everything just kind of lines up, man. You know, but everybody hang on in there. I've covered a lot. We're running up on the end part of the presentation. All right, now before I deal with the very last part of the Assyrian deportation, I want to refer back to, you know, what the Most High said, you know, in first person, you know, because it's relevant, and you know, it ties everything together. All right, Leviticus 26:32 and 33, he says, "And I will bring the land," which is Israel, "into desolation." And we already defined what desolation is. That means totally empty, devoid. "And your enemies, which dwell therein, shall be astonished at it. And I will scatter you among the heathen, and will draw out a sword after you. And your land shall be desolate, and your cities waste." All right. And the Most High says, "I am the Lord, and I change it not." And let me tell you, when he says something, that's exactly what he means, man. I can't even begin to tell you the amount of enemies that have come through Israel and tainted their blood with the Holy Land, to the point where you got DNA thinking that they're actually Semitic. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. But he said it, and he meant it. He said, I will bring the land into desolation, and your enemies which dwell therein shall be astonished at it. So on to the very last slide before we go and end it with the Roman destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD. And you know, as much research as I've done, you know, all this still just kind of, you know, boggles my mind, man. It really does. All right, moving right along. This is the last slide. It talks about the return. Now it says, unlike the kingdom of Judah or Yehuda, which was able to return from its Babylonian captivity, the 10 tribes of the northern kingdom never had a foreign edict granting permission to return and rebuild their homeland. Many centuries later, rabbis of the restored kingdom of Judah were still debating the return of the lost 10 tribes. However, Assyria had been conquered by Babylon, and Babylon had been conquered by the Medo-Persians. It's insane, man. All this conquering and invading, and why don't everybody just stay on their own home country turf, man, and just leave everybody alone, you know? And we're not even having this conversation. You know, our people, you know, our E1B1A is showing up in Israel. We're doing our thing, and, you know, you know, don't mind me. I'm just thinking out loud, man. But yeah, I kind of got a problem with that whole that lost 10 tribe thing. You know, tribes ain't lost, man. Like the brother said in the African Limbo video, we are not lost. We are scattered. Yep, I agree. All right, we're moving right along to the next segment. The Roman destruction of Jerusalem, 70 AD, the event that ended it all. Okay, and once again, because it's important, the Most High had already put it out there, the total destruction of Israel, of Jerusalem. He said it was going to be desolate, okay, and the cities were going to be waste. All right, that was prophesied, and he said that in the first person, okay. And then Christ, the Messiah, he prophesied that Jerusalem would be totally destroyed. And as you can see, he says, and Jesus said unto them, see ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And that, my brothers and sisters, is him prophesying the total destruction, Roman destruction of Jerusalem, 70 AD. Again, the event that ended it all, and quite possibly the saddest day in the history of our people and the history of the E1B1A. Let's get it. Yeah, the Roman destruction of Jerusalem, 70 AD. When I say that, you know, this is quite possibly the saddest day in the history of our people, in the history of our YD of E1B1A, that's definitely not an understatement. The Romans carried out, man, such, I mean, destruction, cold, callous, I mean, no mercy. They killed women, children, the elderly, priests. I mean, the body, it was so many bodies that the Romans killed. They didn't have places to put the bodies, man. It was that bad. It was that bad. It was total decimation. And I'm gonna, you know, submit some slides. You know, we're gonna kind of talk about it more in depth, because there was a quote unquote Roman Judean by the name of Flavius Josephus, who wrote and gave a first-hand account as to what he saw and what happened. As a matter of fact, he actually has a chronology of events with when this took place. You know, so definitely check out the complete works of Flavius Josephus if you have not done so. All right, because like I said, he gives you know, firsthand knowledge on what he saw and what happened, man. And it was I can't even put it into words how awful and how bad it was, man. I'm serious. I'm not even over exaggerating. They did us dirty. They did us really, really dirty. Those Romans, man, they really did. But this event in human history is what completely altered the trajectory and migration of our Y DNA haplogroup of E1B1A, our blood lineage and our nationality as Hebrew Israelites. See, we either fled to West Africa, we were, captured and sold, as slaves there. We were constantly fighting, running, fighting, trying to avoid capture, trying to avoid being enslaved, by Arabs who, they tried to, come in and swoop in and at a bad time, and they were capitalists, man. And they knew that we were cursed, and they called us Yehudi. They knew that, man. They knew who we were, and they know who we are right now. So our DNA only picks up where we ended up, not where we originated in Israel. Because remember, I said this event. I mean, literally, it put an end to the Jewish state. And that's how they describe it. It literally put an end to the Jewish state. Now you might ask, well, so how does that exactly, show that, or how did it get rid of the E1B1A? Well, in simple terms, when it was all said and done, there was no one left. Literally. There was not one soul left in Israel. Remember, the Most High said it. It was going to be desolate, right? Think back. It was going to be desolate. And I'm like I said, I'm going to provide some, some firsthand accounts from this Flavius Josephus. We'll go through that. But I just want to kind of set it up. This is the event right here that everything culminated to. I'm serious. I can't put into words how bad it was, man. Seriously. I definitely highly recommend you all Googling either the destruction of Jerusalem or the siege of Israel, something like that, or even like the complete works of Flavius Josephus, PDF or something. I have his works, and I tell you, it's something else, man. I can't even put it into words, but this is what culminated in our E1B1A not pointing to Israel any longer, because when it was all said and done, this Roman destruction, 70 AD, those who weren't enslaved were killed. I mean, there was literally not a soul left. And on that note, we're going to jump into some of the slides and talk about it from a first-hand account of Flavius Josephus. But this is what took us over the edge, man. Yeah. So we're going to go on to the next slide. Well, before I bring up some of the slides from Flavius Josephus in his first-hand account, I kind of wanted to touch on some things that took place, man, during this Roman destruction of Jerusalem. There were, mass crucifixions of Hebrew Israelites, man. Hebrew Israelites were literally burned alive. Children, women, they barred none. It was almost like they were possessed. They literally, a lot of the Hebrew Israelites, mostly women and things, they asked, they begged, they pleaded for mercy. And these Romans, man, they had none. You got to read that chronology, man, of what they did to our people, man. I'm serious. I want you all to read that. I'm not going to get into it because we're running up on the end of this presentation. I know I've covered a lot, but I wanted to speak on that. I wanted to tell you some of the atrocities of what they did, and that still doesn't really do it justice in terms of what they did to our people, man. So I'm gonna be totally real with you. So when the Romans finally got theirs, when the Roman Empire came to an end, I was happy as a mug. They got done dirty too by the barbarians. I'm not gonna go on a tangent, but they got done dirty too, because they did our people dirty, man. You know, they really did. So I'm going to get off this little soapbox. I'm not going to go on a tangent, but I wanted to speak on some of the atrocities and what they did to our people, man. I want you all to Google that chronology of Flavius Josephus and destruction of Jerusalem. All right, and we can talk about it on the YouTube page or whatever. But please Google that. You know, we can talk about it. But I wanted to touch on some of the atrocities and you know what they did to our people, man. It was inhumane, man. It was I can't even speak to that, man. I mean, I guess they were Hitler before Hitler. What they did to us, man. It was man. All right, moving right along to the next slide. All right, here's a you know, I want to give like a brief bio on Flavius Josephus, you know, the one who gave the first-hand account of the Roman destruction of Jerusalem. And you all can kind of, you know, press pause and read it, whatever the case may be. But like I said, I definitely highly recommend his book, The Complete Works of Flavius Josephus, because if you are serious about researching your history as a Hebrew Israelite, that book is definitely a must-have, and I highly recommend it to everyone. So get your hands on that, or, you know, download it, get the PDF. Matter of fact, the PDF is available, you know, for free. So, you know, you don't even have to worry about trying to order it off Amazon. You can just Google Complete Works of Flavius Josephus PDF, and it'll come right up. All right, the Wars of the Jews, or the History of the Destruction of Jerusalem, Book 7. This is actually an excerpt from the Complete Works of Flavius Josephus, and here, you know, it goes into, you know, how you know, containing the interval of about 3 years, and from the taking of Jerusalem by Titus to the sedition at Cyrene, and how that an entire city of Jerusalem was demolished. And if you go down a little bit, here's where we get the first-hand account verification that there was no one left in Israel. It says, now as soon as the army had no more people to slay or to plunder, because there remained none to be the objects of their fury. For they would not have spared any had there remained any other work to be done. Let me say it again. Now as soon as the army had no more people to slay or to plunder, because there remained none to be the objects of their fury, for they would not have spared any had there remained any other work to be done. And that hammers home the point I made about them showing no mercy, and just complete and utter destruction and inhumane treatment of our people. So there it is there, first-hand account of why the E1B1A no longer points to Israel. All right, it picks up where we ended up, not where we originated. Because after the Roman destruction of Jerusalem, as you all can see, and the Most High said it, it was desolate. There was not an E1B1A left. It's almost like we were, in a sense, wiped out of history. Our DNA was wiped out of history, right? At least from the Middle East, from our homeland. You know, so it's easy to keep us, or just kind of keep us in West Africa, because truthfully, there's nothing that exists that says that they should do anything else. Half the people that in the powers that be, they know who we are anyway. They know who we are, right? You know, you have to remember, like, we are a small percentage. There's more of our people who don't know or have a clue as to who we are, vice the Hebrews that do. Look at these mega black churches, man. These mega churches, and I'm not gonna call any names, but let's look at that, and you'll see how lost we are. And unfortunately, 2/3 of us are going to die. Have already died, not knowing, the truth. So, there it is there. I think I got one or two more slides, man, and we're moving on from this segment, man. And I think I definitely hit the point home, as far as what happened to us. All right? So we're moving on. All right. Josephus claims that 1.1 million people were killed during the siege, of which a majority were Jewish, really, and that 97,000 were captured and enslaved. Then it goes on to say, quote, the slaughter within was even more dreadful than the spectacle from without. Men and women, old and young, insurgents and priests, those who fought and those who entreated mercy, were honed down in indiscriminate carnage. The number of the slain exceeded that of the slayers. The legionaries had to clamor over heaps of dead to carry on the work of extermination. My God. Wow, man. It says many fled to the areas around the Mediterranean. Titus reportedly refused to accept a wreath of victory, saying that the victory did not come through his own efforts, but that he had merely served as an instrument of God's wrath. You know what? I just on to the next slide. Okay, so it says the Roman legions quickly crushed the remaining Jewish resistance. So, like I said before, we fought and we fought hard and we fought, valiantly, but in the end, it just wasn't enough. We were, overwhelmed. It says part of the remaining Jews escaped through hidden underground tunnels. Wow, okay. While others made a final stand in the upper city. This defense held the Roman advance as they had to construct siege towers to assail the remaining Jews. The city was completely under Roman control by September 7th, and the Romans continued to pursue those who had fled the city. Wow, talking about adding insult to injury. And I want you all to Google the Google Masada. All right, Google that in relation to the Hebrew Israelites and the Roman destruction. All right. That's going to conclude this segment in terms of I definitely have shown and proven what happened to the E1B1A and why it does not point to Israel, like I said I would. And that concludes this segment.